I'd love to show you a little bit about the value calculator, and then we're going to take a quick break. Here, let me just go in. So if you want to use the value calculator, again, I've already created the value calculator, so I can just simply launch, as you could as well if you have been on your device as well. I can launch the value calculator, and that's going to take me to this initial screen. Now keep in mind, when this loads, this initial screen is going to show you the same chart that you saw back in the Value Discovery Workshop in that post phase, the before and after. The after phase has the chart. You're gonna see it coming up shortly. Now what you can do though is in the value calculator, start to change some of the inputs, right, that influence the chart. What you're going to see is, once it loads, there you go, you're going to see total cost, total benefit. Again, it looks very, very similar, exactly, quite honestly, exactly the same as what you saw in Value Discovery Workshop. But this one obviously gives you a little bit more information. So if I scroll down, I can go to benefits by category, and I can see all of the hard benefits and soft benefits. If I keep scrolling down, I can see this, the cost as well. Keep in mind, every single one of these colors is one section. Every single one of these sections is customizable depending on how much you want to go in. So I always say, for a value calculator, you can make it really as simple as you want or as complicated as you want. I do urge everybody to at least go into the solutions profile page. And this is the page where you can then firstly customize what is the SKU that you're gonna be selling, right? So you can generate a cost benefit analysis for that. Did I not click it? I think I did. We'll let it load a little bit. So in that page, then you can identify, hey, I'm selling Microsoft 365 E3. I got 2,000 users. I'm selling it in however much. I didn't click it. Yes. There you go. Right, so I can now start to customize the solutions I'm selling. What is the price? This one is set in US because the account that I've set it up in geography, when you're adding an account, I set it in the US, but had I set it in the United Kingdom, of course it would show up as pound. Italy, it would show up as euro, etc. So I can start to customize. I can do initial users. This one happens to be 75 because that's how many seats I put in. I can change that if I want to. I can make it a little bit more dynamic. I can say, hey, year 2, I'm going to have 90 people, right? Year 3, I can have 2,000 if I want to. Obviously, I'm making these numbers up. I can go down, click on calculate. So at the very, very mid, and in fact, sorry, I should have done this, but oh well. Add additional profile. We all know there's a mixture of profiles within the same company, right? So some people you could be selling Microsoft 365 E3. There might be another 1,000 of users who's using Office 365 E3 as well. So you can add additional profile. I'm not gonna go back there, but you can add additional profile and actually create as many profiles as you want. And then it's going to generate this brand new cost benefit analysis based on what you've put in. The other thing I do want to show you here is you can, of course, like I said, you can make it as complicated as you want. I can go into advanced cost inputs, for example, and I can start to take away or add cost to some of the things, right? So for example, if I had told the customer, I'm going to take away the training cost because I'm going to, give you, I don't know, 1 year of free training on using the product, I can now go in and actually change all of the inputs here. And so when I do a recalculation, that cost benefit analysis is going to differ. So this is the online version. There is an offline version that you can also go to downloads if you want. This ROI calculation will give you an Excel file. And I'll quickly just open it up to show you what that looks like. It is a zip file, and whoa. And it will basically take everything that you see on the online version, put it into Excel format. It really depends on your comfort level of using Excel. Some people do enjoy working in Excel much more than using a web application, and that's perfectly fine. So we provide you with this Excel file for you to play around with. You can very quickly see it's a very dense file. It goes into a bunch of different things, but at the highest level, it's the same thing that you can put in, right? Enterprise basic inputs, what are you selling, what are the standard inputs that you want to put in, what are the average benefits inputs. So you can do everything that you do online Now you can do an Excel file. Some people prefer the online version because it's a little bit more simple. You don't have to worry about as many things. We do have definitions as well included in every single one of these so that you can see in both the online version as well as the offline version. I think I have to go into enable edit so that you see what we mean by each one of these role items. So that's the value calculator. I do presume that most people here have your own version of calculators, right, in your organization. So I would say, well, hold on, is that true? I see some not, some no, okay. For those of you who don't have a calculator of some sort, this is obviously one that you can use, and anybody can go in today and start playing around with the tool and really start to understand, hey, what it is that we're looking at. There is a support alias as well for within Microsoft that can help you build out a sort of a value calculator business case as well, so that you can also kind of see how we would build it out for the customer if we were doing it, right? Treat that as I need help, and we can help you, guide you along on the first one, but don't treat that as every single one that you just send it over to us and build it out. But yeah, this is something that I know every seller in at least within Microsoft, pretty much every single one of them will come in and use the value calculator, whether it's the online version or the offline version. Most of them do have the offline version already downloaded. This isn't anything actually net new within Microsoft. We've always had this for a few years. It's just constantly being updated, that's all. So a lot of the sellers have the offline version, and they've become very used to using a lot of these. So another way to actually learn about this tool as well, there's not going to be enough time to actually go through every single piece of this. But another good way to learn about the tool is if you're engaging directly with one of our sellers, chances are they know about this, and chances are they can share with you some of the information that they put in here and typically how they drive that with the customers. But very quickly though, it's one thing from a value discovery workshop standpoint. Remember that chart that we had seen in the after process. That chart is the chart that you would see here in the value calculator. And typically the linkage between the two that I always think about is customers will always have questions around that chart. Majority of them will go very quickly to that value discovery workshop, to that bottom right, and see, oh, you're telling me there's, I don't know, 2 million pounds of savings. Tell me more about it. That is when I have to tell them, let's slow down first. Let's see if we can finish the value discovery workshop. But really when that question is being asked, that's one quick way that you can say, hey, let's follow up, right? We have a tool value calculator. Let me sit down with you and actually go through some of the key inputs so that I can make it very personalized for you, right? And here is the tool that you can then go and use with the customer, whether it's directly sitting down with them for 60 minutes, or you can build it out and show them how it would look like, right? Yes, question? I can repeat the question too. Does that? Yeah?
So if you use the value calculator via the portal and you customize it how you wish, are you able to extract that as the Excel file, or do you then have to repeat everything again when you download the Excel file?
You do not have to. Sorry. If you've edited the online version, everything that you've put in should then translate over to the Excel file. After, right? You have to do the online version first, and then you download it. Sorry, I should repeat the question. The question was, if you were to do the online version, does that information translate into the Excel file when you download it? And the answer is yes. What other questions? So I would say for CIE, the best way to go and learn about it is go read the scripts if you want to, or just pick one scenario and go read what the stories that we've put together for you. Go read it and see if it's something that jives with you, right, in terms of how you would be giving it. And use that as your learning basis to run a virtual CIE. For value calculator, the best way is to just come in and literally start looking at it line by line, row by row. You can do it in the Excel file, or you can do it directly in the portal as well. Either way is going to be fine. But it's going to give you a little bit more muscle around how to do a value calculator in that way. For those of you who already have some sort of a calculator, in your organization and you feel very comfortable with it, by all means, you should continue. You should continue to use what you're comfortable in driving that cost-benefit analysis. We are also putting in a brand new release of value calculator, sometime probably by the end of the week. So starting probably beginning of next week, when you log in, you're going to see some changes made to the value calculator. And I'll give you sort of a preview verbally on what that would look like. Everything that you see here still lives, it stays. But one of the things that we're trying to drive is, if you think about Value Discovery Workshop, it's all driven by business scenarios, right? 18 business scenarios. How does that then accrue to a skew? That was a gap that we've identified. So what we mean by that is, when you do scenario number 1 and translate that to a Microsoft 365 E5, how does that translate between scenario 1, 2, 3, or is it all of them is part of Microsoft 365 E5? How do I think about that? So what we with the new release, what we did is we put in something called a value realization tool. That's how we called it. And basically, when you do a scenario 1, for example, in Value Discovery Workshop, it will translate directly to here so that you can see, based on what the scenario conversation you had and based on the seeds, how much of a cost-benefit saving you would get on the value calculator, right? So it gives you a direct one-to-one relationship. If you were to pick multiple scenarios, that cost-benefit analysis would also shift right now. Whereas right now, you can imagine this is pretty much of a skew conversation at this point, because you're selecting the solutions profile in the beginning to generate your cost-benefit analysis. So that's to come. We're releasing that probably sometime on Friday. So by Monday, when you go back to your office, log in, you should be able to see something brand new for Value Calculator. Yes, sir.
Will that also work for roles? Because different roles will want different capabilities.
Will it work for roles and different capabilities? Because different roles, different industries would have different capabilities. It will. It will. Basically, it stems from, what it really stems from is the 18 scenarios that we had. Whether it's which role versus not, we basically treat it the same. Now, it will be up to the seller and the partner to go and dive deeper into each of the roles to see if there's any nuances there. But it starts with the 18 business scenarios, which come from the TEI studies that we've done, the total economic impact study that we've done. And then we use that to say, okay, for scenario number 1, this is in this industry based on this seat count, this is typically what we see from a cost-benefit analysis. What other questions? Anything? We've touched on Value Discovery Workshop, how it links to CIE. Value Calculator is the tool to calculate your cost-benefit analysis. That really is the bulk of the business value program. So we're gonna have a break later, very soon, depending on how many questions you have. We're gonna have a break. And then when we come back, we're gonna talk about IT roadmap, which is the last piece of the business value program okay, it's not there yet, but that I will talk about. And then we can talk about the programs that we're running. And then, we can have a hopefully candid Q&A as well. Any questions before we go on break? Yes.
You talked about the cost takeout tool.
Oh, okay.
Is that something you're going to cover later on, or?
I wasn't, but I can. If that's something that, why don't we do that in the last maybe 5 to 10 minutes? Let me just show that real fast. There's not a reason why we do or we don't. I just didn't know if that was going to be interesting. So let's see. Let's create a cost takeout tool. The cost takeout tool is, back to my point, it's a way for you to look at what is our competitor's product versus what's ours. And then basically you're doing a comparison between how much would it save you. We do not have compete prices in there though. So that's something that you would sit down with the customers and actually go through. And the whole point is to sit down with the customers to understand, hey, what are you using right now? What are you paying for it? How much would you be able to save by moving to our stuff? So let me create a package. I'm gonna create these two. And then with the cost takeout tool, then you can further extract the data into Excel file and share directly with the customer as well. We, as a Lowe's, fun fact about cost takeout tool, it was never something that we meant to put into business value program, but literally sellers started to tell us, hey, we really need to have some sort of a tool to compare what is our competitors, what is our competitor products versus what's ours, so that we have a clear idea of what that looks like. And then that's when we started to build out this CTO tool. That's literally all it is. Let me just open it up, launch. And this is how it looks like. So you can see, hey, you have Office 365 E3. Let's just do E5. You can open it up and start to look at some of our competitive products that goes along the functionality or the feature that we have within each of the SKUs. So I can go into personal analytics if I want to, and then look at, hey, what is the solution that they currently have? What is their current spending? Again, if you put in anything else, you would have to, we can't publish by law, we can't publish any of the current spending that they have, nor can we put in competitive pricing. So that's something that you would have to go dig with the customers. But the whole goal is to figure out, hey, how much are you spending right now versus how much can you save, right? So with E3, you get all of this. You can now take away all of the costs that you're spending on each one of these things and just spend what we would be charging for E3, right? So that's the whole point behind cost takeout tool. There's a question?
For the calculator, in terms of licensing cost, it's always going to be Microsoft 365 E5, is that right?
In the value calculator?
Yeah.
You can change the profile. You can change how, if it's going to be Microsoft 365 E5 versus E3, you can do Office 365 E3, E5. It all depends on the profiles that you choose.
Okay, and then also the licensing type can be changed, or it's always CSP or EA, or how does it go?
Is that more related to how much it cost? Or?
Yeah, because if you are doing the cost analysis, like if you decide to go one route or the other, you have different incentives as well, and it may cost differently.
Right,
for
and you can edit the cost.
Yeah.
You can edit the cost of any SKU that you put in. It basically is a very fluid and open tool for you to customize, really, to make it as complicated as you want or as simple as you want. So you can definitely change the SKU, you can change the pricing as well.
Okay, thank you.
Did I see a hand? Wow, I'm hallucinating. So there you go, right? So you can see, hey, what is the solution that they have? So maybe is this one, I don't know, I'm making it up right now. What's the contract information? What is the next step in terms of where they're at in terms of the customer's deployment? And this is, of course, this one is the Microsoft product that we have. So again, you can see for each of the SKU, then we pull in all of the competitive information that we have, or at least the major ones that we have, and then showcase, hey, what is it that we have within our tool? All in the essence of we wanted to minimize the number of applications that they would have to go out and buy from third parties, use our own, and it's one pricing SKU for all of the things that you get right here. Yes, sir.
From my perspective, this is really valuable. This is almost like burying the headline.
Okay. So I'll repeat that. This is very valuable.
These are hard costs that they're saving rather than soft costs.
Yes, these are definitely hard costs. And again, the reason we wanted to put this into the business value program is because a lot of people are voicing exactly that we need a way for us to compare between different products. Chances are some people don't even know most of our competitive products, but there's so many out there. And what we try to do is put it all in here in a very nice looking format so that you can quickly identify what is the feature that we're talking about, what is the product that you have versus what it is that we have, right? And very quickly then you can start to say, well, this is how much it's going to cost you, right? If you want all of these and you're paying for all of these already, why not minimize that cost, right? Hopefully minimize that cost and then use our product.